Today, we're talking about one of the most important elements of creating an immersive, unputdownable story: maintaining a consistent point of view. Picture this. You're deep in the zone, living and breathing through the eyes of your protagonist, when suddenly, bam! Without warning, you're yanked into the head of a different character. It's like a literary version of whiplash, leaving you confused and disoriented. The spell of the story shattered. This jarring experience is often the result of inconsistent POV, and it's a common pitfall that can trip up even the most seasoned writers. But fear not. In this video, I'm going to arm you with all the tools and techniques you need to keep your POV on lock and your readers fully immersed from page 1 to the end. We'll cover the key strategies for establishing a clear POV plan, avoiding those pesky unintentional perspective shifts, smoothly executing intentional transitions, and revising your draft with a fine-toothed POV comb. By the time we're done, you'll be a bona fide point of view pro, ready to craft stories that transport readers so deeply they forget they're even reading at all. Sound good? Let's dive in. First things first, before you even put pen to paper or fingers to keyboard, you need to establish a clear POV game plan for your story. This means making some key decisions right out the gate about which perspective you'll be using and sticking to them like glue. Take Meyer's mega best-selling Twilight series, for example. Before she started drafting, Meyer made the crucial call to tell the story entirely from Bella's first-person point of view. No jumping into Edward's head, no omniscient bird's-eye view, just Bella's experiences, thoughts, and observations guiding us through the narrative. By committing hard to this perspective from the get-go, Meyer created an incredibly intimate bond between readers and Bella. We're not just watching her fall in love with a dreamy vampire, we're living it in all its breathless, angsty glory. So, how can you follow in Meyer's POV, mastering footsteps? The key is to front-load the tough decisions. Ask yourself, which perspective will serve this story best? First person, third person limited, multiple POVs, omniscient? Who will my POV characters be, and why? Once you've landed on a POV strategy that feels right for your tale, map out a plan for how you'll execute it consistently across your scenes and chapters. Maybe you'll stick with one character's close perspective throughout, or maybe you'll alternate between two characters' POVs, switching off at specific plot points. Whatever you choose, having that roadmap in place will keep you from veering off course and crashing your POV car into a ditch. Trust me, your readers will thank you. Of course, even the best laid POV plans can go sideways in the heat of actually writing. You're chugging along in your protagonist's head when suddenly you catch yourself dipping into another character's thoughts or feelings. This kind of unintentional head hopping is super common, especially if you're writing in a close third-person perspective. It's like your brain is itching to reveal what everyone is thinking, not just your star player. But resist that urge, my friends. Accidental POV slips can quickly yank readers out of the story and break their hard-won trust in your narrative. The golden rule is, if your POV character can't see it, hear it, feel it, or know it, it doesn't belong on the page. J.K. Rowling is a total pro at avoiding these slips in the Harry Potter series. The vast majority of the story unfolds from Harry's limited third-person perspective. We're right there in his head, experiencing his world through his eyes. But every once in a blue moon, Rowling will give us a tiny peek into another character's thoughts, like when Professor McGonagall is worrying about Harry's safety, or when Hermione is mentally working out a tricky bit of magic. The thing is, Rowling is always mega careful to keep these moments brief and clearly signaled, usually with a line break or a new chapter. She never lingers in those other heads long enough to derail Harry's POV train. So, what's a writer to do when you feel those unintentional slips creeping in? The first step is to catch them, of course, which is why it's so important to read your drafts with your POV goggles on. Then, it's all about the rewrite. Take a hard look at any spots where you're revealing another character's internal world and ask yourself is this information that my POV character could realistically know or observe? If not, it's time to cut or rephrase. You can also try using filter words to shore up your perspective boundaries. Instead of jumping directly into Hermione's thoughts, for example, Rowling might write something like, Harry saw Hermione frowning at the spell book, her brow furrowed in concentration. That way, we're still getting a hit of Hermione's experience, but filtered through Harry's POV lens. Now, all this isn't to say that you can never, ever shift your story's perspective. POV transitions can be an incredibly powerful tool in a writer's arsenal when used strategically and well. The key word there is strategically. Unlike those accidental slips, intentional POV shifts should always serve a clear purpose in your larger narrative design. Maybe you're alternating between two characters' perspectives to build suspense or show the different sides of a conflict. Maybe you're switching to an omniscient view to give us some crucial information that your main character doesn't have yet. Whatever your reason, the important thing is to execute these shifts in a way that feels natural and grounded for readers. One of my favorite examples of strategic POV shifts done right is in Gillian Flynn's twisty domestic thriller, Gone Girl. The story alternates between the dueling first-person accounts of Nick and Amy, a married couple whose picture-perfect facade is crumbling in the wake of Amy's disappearance. Flynn uses each perspective shift to masterful effect, revealing new information and ratcheting up the tension with every chapter. And she always keeps readers oriented with crystal-clear signposts, labeling each section with the POV character's name and the date, like Nick, October 5th, 2012, or Amy, April 21st, 2012. That kind of audience hand-holding is crucial when you're playing with the perspective shifts. Remember, your readers are putting a huge amount of trust in you as the storyteller. They're counting on you to guide them seamlessly through the world of your tale, without any unnecessary confusion or whiplash. So, if you're going to change up your POV, be sure to light the way with neon signs. Use chapter or section breaks to create a visual buffer between different perspectives. Toy with labels, headers, timestamps, even different fonts to signal whose head we're jumping into now. Consistency is key here. If you start your alternating chapters with a character name and date stamp, keep doing it throughout the entire book. Train your readers to expect those shifts, and they'll follow you anywhere. Of course, no matter how well you plan and how diligently you draft, there will always be room for POV touch-ups in revision. This is where you get to put on your editor hat and really put your story through its paces, hunting down any lingering inconsistencies or rough spots in your perspective. Suzanne Collins has shared some great insights into her revision process for the Hunger Games trilogy, which is told in Katniss's deliciously spiky first-person POV. After she finished each book, Collins would go back through the manuscript with a fine-toothed comb, scene by scene, to make sure that Katniss's perspective stayed razor-sharp and true from start to finish. She'd ask herself questions like, would Katniss really notice this detail? Is this metaphor too flowery for her voice? Is this a conclusion Katniss would actually draw? Or am I letting my authorial knowledge creep in? By ruthlessly interrogating every page, Collins polished her POV until it shone, and readers fell head over heels into Katniss's story as a result. So, when you're revising your own manuscript, channel your inner Collins and get surgical about your POV. Examine each scene for sneaky inconsistencies or outside knowledge that your perspective character couldn't possibly have. Make sure the voice and outlook stays true to the character you've so vividly crafted. Don't be afraid to slash and burn anything that muddies your POV waters. Your goal is to create a perspective so cohesive, so immersive, that readers forget there's a writer behind the curtain at all. They're just living and breathing in your character's world, seeing what they see, feeling what they feel. And that my fellow tale spinners, is the true magic of a well-honed POV. When your point of view is airtight, your story transcends the page and becomes an experience. Readers don't just sympathize with your characters, they become them, slipping into their skins like a second self. That's the kind of transportive, unforgettable storytelling that turns casual perusers into die-hard fans. And it all starts with nailing your perspective. So, let's recap the key steps to keeping your POV on lock. 1. Establish a clear POV plan from the get-go and commit to it. Decide who your prospective characters will be and map out how you'll bring readers into their heads consistently. 2. Beware the head hop. Train yourself to spot and fix any unintentional POV slips. When in doubt, cut it out or filter it through your main character's lens. 3. If you do switch perspectives, make it 100% intentional and strategic. Give readers clear signposts to orient them in each new POV. Think chapter breaks, labels, timestamps, the works. 4. Revise the heck out of your POV. Go through your draft with an unforgiving editorial eye, making sure every paragraph, every sentence rings true to your chosen perspective. Clarity and consistency are the name of the game. Master those steps, and you'll be well on your way to crafting stories that don't just captivate readers, but downright possess them. Because when your POV is unimpeachable, there's no limit to how deeply your words can transport and transform. And if you really want to level up your writing skills while supporting this channel, I've poured my heart and soul into creating the ultimate online course. You'll find the link in the description. But for now, I want to hear from you. Head to the comments and tell me, what are your biggest POV struggles or success stories?